Do you remember learning a little bit about Louis Pasteur? You should recognize his face from a previous lesson. Let's take a look at his life a little bit. The birth of an innovator. Louis Pasteur was born on the 27th of December 1822 in Dole, France. He was skilled at drawing and painting, gaining a Bachelor of Arts degree. Guys, I mentioned the word degree quite a few times. A degree is your qualification. So you go to university to get a degree, and that's the name. So when they say a Bachelor of Arts degree, they just mean that that's the name of the qualification that you get after studying for 3 or 4 years. For example, as a teacher, you have to get a Bachelor of Education, and that is a 4-year degree. And once you've received that qualification, then you are able to teach. So it's a university qualification. So he was skilled in art and got a university qualification in art. However, he also gained a Bachelor of Science degree and later a doctorate. So guys, this is a clever guy. You don't normally go to university and get more than 1 degree. And the fact that he got 2 bachelor degrees, one in art and one in science, and then later a doctorate. A doctorate means 6 or 7 years of studying in that same field. You don't get a doctorate very easily, and it takes many, many, many years. So he obviously was very good at studying and very intelligent. Anyway, he became a microbiologist who changed the world of medicine forever. We mentioned in the previous section, when you heard about Louis Pasteur, that a microbiologist is somebody that looks under microscopes at tiny, tiny organisms that you cannot see with the naked eye. And so finding things that exist that we can't see is really, really important, because it continues to help medicine find out what viruses are happening, etc. An example would be for the coronavirus. We wouldn't have known what it was if you couldn't see it under a microscope. And so microbiologists play a very significant role in discovering things and finding cures. This man was one of those, and one of the first ones. Research and study. Louis spent many years doing science research in Dijon, Lyon. That's in France. He later became professor of chemistry at the University of Strasbourg, where he met his wife, Marie. During his research, Louis discovered that microbes were responsible for making alcohol taste sour. This led him to work on finding solutions to the problems manufacturers of alcohol were having with sour alcohol affecting drinks. This became known as the germ theory. Because remember, germs are tiny little organisms that can only be seen under a microscope. Another word for tiny organisms are microbes. Because they're so micro, they're tiny. That's why they're called microbes. A whole new process. Louis invented a whole new process where bacteria, which was making liquid sour, could be removed by boiling and then cooling the liquid. This became known as pasteurization. It was first tested in April 1862. I want to read this again, guys. You may have heard about this before in your school life, but it's a very key word and it helped us a lot. Louis invented a whole new process where bacteria, which was making liquid sour, could be removed. So bacteria could be removed by boiling and then cooling the liquid. And this became known as pasteurization. You've been told about boiling liquids before. So Pasteur discovered something really, really important. The silk industry. In 1865, Louis helped save the silk industry. Silkworms create the silk used in fabrics, and it was a very successful business. He proved that microbes were attacking silkworm eggs. This meant that there were fewer silkworms to make the silk. He developed a process to stop the eggs being contaminated by the microbes, and soon this process was used by silk manufacturers worldwide. The beginning of vaccines. In 1879, the first vaccine was created for a disease called chicken cholera. Louis Pasteur discovered that after accidentally exposing chickens to a form of the disease, the chickens became resistant to the actual virus. Resistant just means that they actually wouldn't pick it up. So he exposed the chickens to the disease, and then they didn't actually get it. He continued this research and went on to create vaccines for anthrax, cholera, tuberculosis, and smallpox. These diseases were rife in the 1800s, and many animals and people were dying from them. And guys, remember that all of these guys were working at the same time with similar research. So one of them would have found something out, and another one of the guys would have then worked on his own version of it. And so there would have been a few people finding answers to things at the same time, which is really, really helpful. Vaccines work by making us produce antibodies to fight disease without actually infecting us with the disease. If the vaccinated person then comes into contact with the disease itself, the immune system will recognize it and immediately produce antibodies they need to help fight it. We've already done work on vaccines. Can anybody remember what an antibody is? Try and think back. A rabies vaccine. In 1882, Louis switched his focus to finding a solution to the problem of rabies. Rabies is a fatal virus carried by infected dogs, which is passed on through the saliva and being bitten. In 1885, Louis vaccinated a 9-year-old boy who had been bitten by a rabid dog. That means the dog had rabies. The vaccine was a success, and the boy did not develop rabies. This success brought Louis fame. International fundraising helped build the Pasteur Institute in Paris. A lasting legacy. Louis Pasteur changed the world of medicine, and through his vaccines, thousands of people have survived fatal illnesses. He invented pasteurization, a method by which we use to remove bacteria in milk, making it safe to drink. Alcoholic drinks are pasteurized for the same reason, and the taste isn't affected by the process. The innovator, microbiologist, scientist, Louis Pasteur died on 28th of September, 1895 at age 70. His legacy changed the world. All right, guys, so just think about that for a minute. His understanding of bacteria and how you could get rid of it allowed us to be able to drink milk today without getting sick. Isn't that incredible? Pasteurization was significant for milk products. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. Have a fantastic day. Bye for now.